Hello, it's April 7th, 2017. I'm Tony Smario, coming from my father, BroSal.org YouTube channel, and I just had to do a World War III this week, which I'm hoping is going to be very short because I really only have one thing to say, and if we were a really high production sort of outfit, we'd cue the music video here that says, bye-bye Assad, maybe to the music of bye-bye love, bye-bye happiness, hello loneliness. Anyway, bye-bye Assad. When I saw that Colonel Gaddafi, I found out later, I didn't know at the time, but I found out later he had just done what nobody seems to talk about, didn't in the 6-year-long drought in California. The fact that Colonel Gaddafi down in Libya dug a hole, takes about a half mile from what I understand, 3,000 feet to get down, maybe 1,000 meters, to get down to what they call primary water. Apparently there's just an ocean of fresh water underneath the crust of the earth, which is the source of all of our springs and such. So that, what sits on the surface of the earth is but just nothing, puddles in comparison to primary water. Not talking about the oceans, the saltwater oceans, talking about under the crust of the earth, fresh water. I lived in Hawaii and there were places where the lava rock would overhang and above it there was a river. So that this overhang was always dripping with water that was seeping through the rock, and people used to fill up their canteens and water bottles and stuff there because it was this natural filter of the lava rock slowly as the water seeps down through over time under the pressure of the water above, I suppose. So I don't know if that's the cause of this reservoir of water underneath the earth, but there's supposedly such a thing called primary water, and I wouldn't have believed it except that they got pictures of Colonel Gaddafi's Libya making a river across the desert for, I think it was about 3,000 kilometers or miles, I forget, I think the kilometers. Anyway, long way across the dry desert to bring water to an area that didn't have it. So you could irrigate part of the desert there where people lived. Anyway, one of the most tremendous human engineering projects ever in the history of humanity. And it's one of the first things, from what I understand, that the United Nations, when we went in there and bombed to get Gaddafi, they blew up all that man-made river. And you've never heard a word about it. Like, there's just a little bit of truth that's out there, like I've been saying, like Judy Wood or Anthony Sutton, or the sort of perspective I'm trying to shine a light on from all the years of research that I've done, that there's a plan. Anthony Sutton was already telling you that not only is, he wasn't really telling you about the plan. He was just pointing out that you can absolutely be sure that whatever Russia and China are, they're not our enemy because we fund them. We give them the technology. They couldn't keep up with us if it wasn't so. He saw that as the reason to keep them communists so that they don't develop technology. I say it's because you've got a plan to bring a red team, blue team confrontation together. So naturally you need a red team and you need a blue team. So anyway, old Gaddafi, for all his, you don't hear about that. But what you heard about in the news was he was blowing up his own oil pipelines, sabotaging his own oil pipelines because he knew, trying to keep them from the people that were trying to overthrow him. Which is funny because you never heard about anything. There was never a diplomatic recourse. Hey, what's going on with old Gaddafi? He's been there since the 50s. He's one of the oldest leaders of any country in that, in that Arab world. He was part of their revolution. He's like a Fidel Castro. He was part of their revolution in the, I think, late 50s, helped establish their government, and claims that the people, want him as their leader, like Fidel Castro in Cuba. And to my knowledge, nothing's ever been demonstrated that that's an obvious fallacy, that he's killing his people, that he's keeping them down. We say that, and it may be true, since we've obviously funded him. We've allowed him, if not funded him in the 50s, we certainly allowed him to be who he was. When you look at what the power that's been wielded over all those countries like Iran, Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Palestine, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, all through from the 20s, all the way up. So it's hard to believe that Libya was their own thing going on. So I'm going to go so far and to say that he was the guy they picked to fund from the beginning, and he followed whatever they told him. And if they told him, brutally put down anybody that rises against you, I don't doubt that he did that. But the bigger point, I think, is that he did reside over a country that had one of the highest living standards in the world until the UN attacked him. They were people that had subsidized gas, and they were people that had all their own natural resources as a country. He was, had in fact gone so far as to be setting up an African national bank to loan money to the African nations with the riches of Libya's resources, so that he could, of course, enrich Libya. But I don't know his intentions. I don't know what he was really doing. I just know that if he didn't get dead, his body double got dead, and the regime changed. And same thing with Saddam Hussein. All those years, obviously punking for the man, getting the hand shaken by all the big diplomats of the United States, just like Gaddafi, getting all the guns and support, just like Gaddafi, and then all of a sudden we're in there hanging him and taking his country. Was that him, or was that the body double? I don't know. Would it matter? I mean, to the world, boom, different. I say that if they're really all a club that's coming up through their own sort of Masonic secret societies, and that's why they're the chosen one to carry on the plan and be the head of a country, be the head of a bank, be the one that takes a bullet if they have to, be the one that, toes the line. I don't know why they're all supposedly 33rd degree Masons, or is that just a story? But I'm saying if it's not, and they all happen to be, then you can imagine that probably they don't kill each other. That wouldn't look good. If you happen to be the next guy whose shoulder got tapped, why should I do it? Look what you did to Gaddafi. Look what you did to Hussein. I'm not going to be set up for that. But if you're all sitting around a cigar room in Cuba, if you're all sitting in the Caribbean on a big sailboat having rum together, laughing at the news coverage of your death, because it wasn't really you, it was your body double, your enemy who you nabbed years ago and put him through surgery to make him look just like you. Kept him in a prison for the day you'd haul him out and hang him in place of you. Oh, I mean, that's, I don't know. If I can imagine it, I don't know why they can't. So I don't know what the truth is. I just know that here we go with the same pattern, right? Old Saddam Hussein said, screw the U.S., I'm selling my oil for euros. Oh, he doesn't know, with the CIA background, who butters his bread. He doesn't know that's a death sentence, huh? He just goes ahead and does it. It sure creates a nice narrative for the world, right? But it's a death sentence for him. Gaddafi. Yeah, I don't know why he suddenly, after, a generation of ruling the country, needs to blow up his own pipeline to make his point. He can't just go to the U.S. and say, look, I got a problem. I need some covert help. I need some tanks. I need some planes. I need an airdrop. I needed you to blow some people up if you want me to keep playing ball. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. So I saw at that very time, I said, oops, bye-bye Gaddafi. And you could see, everybody could see Saddam Hussein coming. They somehow pinned 9/11 on him. Weapons of mass destruction. Oops, bye-bye Saddam. And now what? Donald Trump has to flip-flop from being a guy that can deal with anybody because he's such a reasonable man. And he's a good, reasonable Christian man. He's a God-fearing man. He makes his decisions based on God and on the heart. And boy, you start killing children with a terrible gas. Well, Donald Trump, the man, let alone President Donald Trump, but the man, if he wasn't president, he'd jump in his own fighter plane and get over there and kill somebody. Because now you made him mad, darn it. Wasn't for that, you might have been able to negotiate. But Donald Trump's mad. So I say, watch out. This looks like a B-movie, Hollywood B-movie script to me. Bye-bye, Assad. You made the cartoon president, the cartoon character president mad. And so I say that's a bye-bye sort of thing. And so they're giving us all the propaganda to show us how, oh no, we're sending strikes in Syria. Russia's that gonna, James Corbett's, he's on high alert for World War III. So, now I remember again why I stopped listening to him. I just was listening this week to William Engdahl, Professor Engdahl, that's been around forever. Just like that Australian guy that talks about everybody being a reptile. He says a lot of truth, but his ultimate story is reptiles. Engdahl, he's got a lot of truth, but his ultimate story is money and this cabal of people that are after oil and money and control. Doesn't bring up a third temple, nothing about Jerusalem, nothing about ruling the world and eradicating a bunch of people. So because they've already got control, they've already got globalization. No, people like this, I feel like Noam Chomsky, there are all these professors that have been brought up either willingly or unwillingly. They're either dupes that were given a story when they were young. Here, look, William, let me show you the truth. Look what the CIA's really doing. And so they've been feeding him his version of the truth for a long time. Either that or it's the kind of plants that they bring out all along. Agent Engdahl, you're going to be Professor Engdahl, and you are always going to tell this story. And someday, when the time comes, you will be an important person in the alternative media telling this story. Like the people they've got telling the UFO. They've got all sorts of people that have been there now for years that look like the ones that have been cutting through the BS of their particular study and discipline to be the ones that give the most coherent story. And I say, yeah, in a lot of ways, boy, I learn a lot when I listen to him. You learn a lot of details. You got to suspect some of those details are twisted a little, even fabricated. But for the most part, these are the people, I think, like Judy Wood, that are there to reveal the truth. But not the whole truth. Just enough of the truth that it's undeniable who's in charge, and by not holding them responsible, by the people going along with it anyway, because it's only really 1% that are sort of awake and aware and trying to do anything about it, and that just can't affect the 99%. It's hardly a dent, and depending on how you want to steer it psychologically, you can sort of represent that 1% any way you want to the 99%. You can make it popular or politically correct to embrace, like they're doing right now with the LBGT and all this, just like for so long they made it so politically incorrect to embrace it. Now they're using it to stimulate, they made it so politically incorrect, if you look at the bigger play, rather than a reaction, so that later when you make it correct, you create what? Division, chaos, stress, like fault lines that store up stress until they give and you get the earthquake. You got to figure the people that are, you can see have been sort of a cohesive unit, as I'm talking about, that go back to the Cecil Rhodes, Illuminati, in the sense that connected through Weishaupt to some sort of Rothschild banking, to some sort of Jesuit banking arm, the people that were using that money to control Europe at the time and had a plan. What could that plan be? I mean, you think about it, still the Crusades, everything being about that land. Whether you believe the religion or not, the masses of people that do, make them the sort of people you want on your side. Maybe that's the only push for the land. It doesn't really matter. It's the most important piece of land. Regardless, the Jews, the Christians, and Muslims all find God came and went from that land. And when you get to the modern day, it's the Jews, Christians, and Muslims that make up, half the world or more. Even as many as they've been killing all along. Holocaust, not just the Jewish Holocaust, but all the Holocausts, as I'm always pointing out. Before World War II, since World War I, the Bolshevik Revolution, they were destroying Christianity in Russia and really genocidally destroying Christianity, going after Christians you see in those 20s and 30s, how they, in the 30s alone, I think there's 3 years where they starved 10 million of them, apparently, according to history. Of the, I don't know how many tens of millions they say. Stalin doesn't come along till like the 50s after the war, Second World War, and they give him Eastern Europe, and he starts killing off more Christians in Eastern Europe. So you can just see that that's obviously the money that funds all this. They could stop it, just like they were trying to get the League of Nations going, and Russia stood in the way. Why? These were the Orthodox Christian Russian in the 1800s. They said, no, we're not going to give these European bankers control of the world, our world, through this League of Nations, where we throw in our army will follow you into any war you provoke. No thanks. And so Rothschild back then told the Tsar, one of these days, me or one of my descendants going to get you off that throne, and you guys will never rule Russia again. Because, see, he had the money already to know that he could muster the forces, even if it wasn't immediate. He knew he could muster the forces over time to be able to make that claim, and son of a gun, Bolshevik Revolution, kill the czars, start a different type of Russia. Oh yeah, Christians tell me no. So, I mean, if you don't see history that way, I'm not sure how you account for like the facts. Why's everybody got to die in front of these people? All the indigenous people in front of the imperial British people. Why's everybody got to be slaughtered in front of these people? And what do you think's coming in front of their ultimate conquering? To put the world finally under their control, complete control. Not that you'll worship one king on a throne. I say that's all part of the lie. The Antichrist isn't going to rule that. That's not what's coming first anyway. If there's ever such a thing as some Lucifer ruling like the way God's going to rule, it's in that same capacity of an eventual subduing of the earth completely. Right now, we're at this 3 world war stage where you get it under complete political and monetary control, central control. That's what a one world government is. Not like there's going to be a one office building that the people who run the world, like a Rockefeller or a Soros or any of these old people go sit at a chair. They already run the world. I mean, I keep referring to a 100-year plan. Rothschilds told the Tsar, how dare you shoot down my League of Nations? I think that might have been the 20s or whatever, late teens or early 20s. And he said, you wait. Somebody's going to get to you. It didn't take quite 100 years. So, the power that was exerted, the 1812 war, the French Revolution, the starting of America and the infiltration of America. All that, when you think how long that was going on, by the time you get to the early 1900s, it's practically the modern day. We're just talking 100 years ago. Some of us have grandparents that were almost alive at that time, right? My great-grandparents came to America at that turn of while all that was going on. Completely oblivious, no doubt, at that time, just as I say we are completely oblivious today to what they're really doing, which is the war they're setting up. But, while everybody's talking, oh no, World War III, I'm saying no. Bye-bye Assad, on our way to the peace. Because, of course, the bye-bye Assad doesn't have to be immediate. It's going to bring all sorts of more saber-rattling, probably, and problems first. It's out of those problems that the peace comes as a solution to World War III. So the fact that this Assad, because how can you come back from this now? You said Assad had to go last time he used chemical weapons. And I've been saying for all this time, funny how we've just forgotten that he had to go. It was so bad he had to go. Well, they've renewed that, haven't they? They've doubled down. Now they're bringing it before the world, even though there's debate, the president, everything's all this chaos. Nobody's clear on it except a few people are absolutely clear. And everybody else says, wait, how do you know you didn't hit an ammo depot? And that wasn't because of an airstrike. So, no, it was Assad, we're 100% sure. So it reeks of all that same propaganda. They know it does, so they know it doesn't even matter. All of this is supposed to be surface level propaganda. As my philosopher friend says, the post-Orwellian world that we're in, the Orwellian stuff is actually the stuff they feed you now. So that you don't see the hand behind your back. It's like they got three hands. They've got you used to watching the hand behind you. You're so used to watching the rabbit come out of the hat that now you're not watching that. You're watching the other hand. So they know that. So they got something coming out with the rabbit that you're not watching because you're busy. Oh yeah, that's just the rabbit. I've seen that. What's going on with the other hand? And they've got you thinking that because they're being so obvious in their stumbling way of presenting the rabbit and the other hand that everybody can see they're trying to hide the other hand. Oh, what are you doing? Yeah, well, it's really with the rabbit this time, fool. So that's what I call this post-Orwellian world. They're using what they've set us up to understand as the Orwellian concept. When they say black, they mean white. So that's still all true, but it's only to distract you so that you're always looking the wrong way while they're doing white with black and doing black with white. So now you're really confused, aren't you? So anyway, I think that's what's happening right now. But I do say that we're going to have to say bye-bye to Assad soon. And this bodes for the sort of third horn being uprooted in that territory that we've been talking about for so long, which I say, that's a real, I've been saying it for a long time. If Egypt wasn't the horn, and Dad's always pointed out, well, they weren't part of the old Roman Empire. They weren't part of that empire that these horns are supposed to come out of. So we've been waiting for it to be the three that said no to the peace deal with Israel in 2000. And that was Iraq, Libya, and Syria. They're the ones that said, no dice, we're not doing it. So whether that was for show or that was the real geopolitical scene that they've developed on the ground to be that way, where they had to say no, just like Japan had to go to war in World War II. They had to. They were pushed to that, just like Germany was pushed to go into war in World War II. They were financially set up from beforehand to be in a position where when they got that pressure, there's nothing else they could do. And so, I think it's all, the pattern can be expected to be the same, because the last 100 years is something they've worked out pretty well for the previous 100 years, it looks like. When you see how they've been steering things with their money and their wars. Now that they've built, sold us on the United Nations to get rid of weapons, and what's come of it? They built nothing but weapons. We got nothing but hostilities all over the world. But at the same time, you can see through Anthony Sutton's work, we've developed the high technology in all the strategic places we want it. So that means if we want nuclear weapons in India, that's why they're there. If they're in Israel, it's because we want them there. If they're in Pakistan, it's because we want them there. If Russia's got 1 million of them, because that's what they built in Russia, to have 1 million. I mean, that's obvious when you look at their control over the last 200 years. If somebody didn't want it, Rothschilds didn't want the Tsar and Orthodox Christianity in Russia. And what did you get? You got the slaughter of the Tsar and his family and the genocidal destruction of Orthodox Christianity for nearly 100, for like 70 years in Russia. That's what you got. And then in the satellite, what we call Eastern Europe, as they gave Stalin part of what was still, I guess, Christian, and not just Christian, but Jewish Europe, places that these people that maybe the Khazarian Jews that had turned Jew and all that, all these sort of people. So they set them loose on those people in Eastern Europe, started slaughtering them. I mean, that's what happened. And you can see the funding was this same group of Rothschild sort of bankers, banking interests that own the English Empire, that can be seen tied to Cecil Rhodes, tied to secret societies, all this kind of thing. So that's why I'm saying, if the Assad family is from a secret society, perhaps, that's why Assad's still given personal appearances in his palace or in his whatever headquarters there in Damascus. Like nothing's going, he can come out and say, this is all BS and America's being aggressive. Wouldn't you be, if you had just shot off chemical weapons, or even knew that the Americans were accusing you of that, I wouldn't be caught anywhere. I'm on television. They don't know that from their satellite. They can't send down a drone strike right now on this place and blow the living crapola out of this place we're all standing. No thanks. How about if we go down 6 levels into my bunker and give an interview? So I don't buy it, man. Here's a guy at war with the United States, and the whole world's media is saying, oh, he just blew off chemical weapons. And yeah, half of them are saying, no, that's a propaganda story. Well, okay, it's the kind of story that the kind of enemy like the United States could blow you out of your palace on, and everybody would cheer. So I still say I don't feel comfortable giving an interview just walking around like it's everyday life. So I'm not sure, I'm not sure how these guys get their position and their directives, except that it all must be the same in the manner that it happens. So that's why they obey. They do what they're told, no matter what it is. And because you can see that about them, they'll lie, they'll stand in there and give an interview the very day that it's announced 50 Tomahawk missiles are being launched by the United States at Syria. I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't stand in there. Sorry. If my enemy was the United States. So to me, it all seems like, maybe, him and his father, just like Yasser Arafat, all this kind of stuff. Do any of them have to really die in our wag the dog world of Hollywood? I mean, yeah, maybe because they've set them all up to be real enemies. They've paid them to be enemies. So you don't mind killing the person who took the money to kill you, right? And you're just leaving them on the end of a chain until the time comes to kill them. That's possible. You'd think that after they see that through history, they wouldn't be so stupid as to take the money for a short time knowing you're going to come in and kill them and their family at some point. So it would make, a little more sense to me in our modern day that it's quite easy to bring in a body double when the time comes to present it for the media, just like all our terrorism. I mean, I see very few times where it looks like people have been killed and there's real blood. Usually in the Middle East, a couple, I think, of these ones in Turkey, these Shia mosques, I think they've killed some people. But all these trucks that have run over people and all these other things, these school shootings, you can just see nobody's got any blood on them. There's just no blood. This last Russian subway, I don't know. I've just watched it as it's flickered across the propaganda. And all I can say is the picture they want to keep showing me through their propaganda of the hole in the door and the couple of bodies lying out front and a couple of people around. It's interesting that these people were shot with shrapnel. That means cuts all over your body, punctures. Blood would be squirting out from people everywhere. It'd be hard to drag a body out that door without getting it bloody and the sidewalk bloody in front of the door. But no, it doesn't look like there's a drip of blood on either of the bodies laying there. There's not a drip of blood on the sidewalk. There doesn't appear to be a drip of blood on the white gloves of any of the people standing around, none on their chest, like they've been there, none on their face, like they've been leaning down trying to talk to someone or listen for a heartbeat, or that they were actually involved in anything real. None of that. Just all fake, I think. So anyway, but they kill a few people in this plan. But I say, Assad, the regime's probably about to fall. So I just want to throw that out there, and the whole Russia scare. So it's all going to build up more World War III. And I'm going to be the guy saying, nope, peace. They're not going to go to World War III. They're going to make peace with the Palestinians. So I just want to drop that on you while it's all so current and everybody's going to be screaming like James Corbett, oh, I'm on World War III alert. Yeah, because it's just going to come as a reaction to something Assad does, something so unlikely like bombing his own people at a time when we're being told, he's getting back sort of some of his control. He's getting back some of his power. 3 years ago, he had to go. Now he's a guy everybody's willing to negotiate with. He's winning territory back in his country. So why not bomb his own people so atrociously with gas that it brings on, a reaction from, someone, a good man like Donald Trump. So anyway, we'll keep you posted on this. Talk to you soon.